Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Man My Way George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Combat Sports Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, I've been doing too much MMA content, mixed martial arts, anything like that for a while. As you know, I've been focused on my bodybuilding stuff. Season been going on, shows have been coming up, and a lot of stuff's been going on in the bodybuilding world. But every now and then, I'm still a fan of women in combat sports, and sometimes get opportunity to talk about it. I still like to talk about it. It's recently I did an interview with Melanie Shaw, who is a BKFC fighter, and it was a great opportunity to talk to a fighter. It's been a long time. But anyway, this is news I saw recently on a site I follow. It's WMA Rankings. It's a IG site that's dedicated to women in mixed martial arts. And I was following it, and they posted this yesterday that I heard that Germaine, aka the Iron Lady, aka as we call her, Go Duck and Run. If you know the story about Germaine Randamie, you understand. Has announced that she's retiring, and it's like I said, it might be about the time because she's already in her 40s. Germaine's been competing for nearly 20 years in combat sports. She started really in Muay Thai and kickboxing, and she set a record. She's been undefeated as a Muay Thai fighter. She's fought quite a few people. Even I remember that she fought a lady who was a fan of a bodybuilder, that's Jacqueline Fuchs. They fought years ago. And one thing she's known for back in the Netherlands, that's where she's originally from, she fought this guy who was a TV host on a TV show, and she knocked him out. And this was like a real big time. I feel they was doing a lot. You saw these fights between men and women. There was a couple here and there. I remember also Shino Raka fought a guy in a Muay Thai fight, but she got knocked out. And after that, she started competing here in the States. She competed with Strike Force, and that's her. You see right there, that's Scott Cooker in the back, and you see right there, she's Julia Budd. She fought quite a few fighters on that organization till it ended, and then it started the UFC. As you know, Dana White was with partners with Scott back in the day, and then they split, and then Dana quit the UFC and Scott quit Bellator. And she fought there for a good while, fighting a lot of great fighters here. She fought Julie Kedzie in her debut in the UFC. Also, she fought Larissa Pacheco, who's now fighting in PFL. And she eventually went up against the two-time double champ, as I call her, Amanda Nunes. She fought her early in her career when they both were climbing up on the women's 135. Remember back then, women's 135 was the only division in the UFC. And after that, she lost to Amanda Nunes, and then she started climbing again. Then Dana White decided to open the 145 divisions, mostly said because of Holly Holm, because when she lost the title to Miesha Tate, they wanted a new division for the women. As you know, they just picked up strawweight division that time, and they wanted another division for the bigger girls. And this fight was a controversial one. As you know, there was a couple of times that Randamie hit Holly Holmes, in between before the bell rung. And then she won the title. Some said that she should have been disqualified or she should have been taken a point, but she still beat Holly Holmes. And, that was disappointing. A lot of people didn't like that. And after that, she was now the first, women's 145 UFC champion. But then, one person who was coming in, who just signed to UFC, was Chris Cyborg. And her and Chris know each other. They crossed paths, never fought each other. And there's opportunity for her to fight Chris for the title. But she did this. She gave up her belt because of injury issues. And that's where the term comes from, go, duck, and run. She ran away from real fight. And it's always used the excuse that Cyborg was on steroids. The thing is, Cyborg, yes, took steroids when she was younger, but she has grit doing that and has admitted to it. But there's several fighters who still take steroids and still fight, but no one gets on their case about it. So for a while, she fought some more fights here and there. She knocked Aspen Ladd out in a fight in about 40 seconds. And, there was always talk about her, her right hand was a dominant hand for Germaine Randamie. And then she had another chance for a title shot against Amanda Nunes. And, she lost to Nunes again. So that was back-to-back losses to Nunes. And then she had a chance to climb back into 135. And it was during the time of the pandemic, as you remember, around 2020. And she fought against Juliana, the Venezuelan vixen, who's now the current 135 champion, who also is a former 135 champion. And in her career, she never had a submission win. So she submitted Juliana with a front guillotine. You know, it's kind of, you put them in like it's kind of like a choke. You get them from the front, and that was her first submission win. But then, you know, the pandemic happened, and then she was having issues with her hands, so she had surgery. So she wasn't competing for a while. And also, her and her girlfriend decided to have children. They want to have a baby. So they decided to have she eventually got pregnant, and they had a son. And there was talks after the son was born that she'd be ready to fight. But then she didn't want to fight because, you know, in the United States during the pandemic, you have to come. She's living over in the Netherlands. She has to come here and she has to be vaccinated. She's leaving vaccinated. So for a good while, she was not fighting for practically, you know, 2 years or more. Then, you know, she got the call to come back to fight. And as you know, the pandemic was lifted. So that means that she can come here. So she was training. She got the opportunity to make her return when she faced against, Norma Dumont. You know, Norma Dumont's been climbing up in the rankings. She's been in 145, 135. She's, you know, possibly the next contender for women's 135 title. And, you know, this was a long time for Randamie since she last fight. It's just been like practically, wow, I want to say 4 years since her fight against Juliana Pena. And, you know, so she's been a bit rusty, been inactive for a good while. As you know, she also has a job in the Netherlands as a police officer. That's the only thing that probably was making her money. And then she lost to Normant. You know, it was by, I think it was split decision. I think it was. I can't remember. I watched the fight because, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Germaine Randamie. So while she still had a contract with UFC, she was looking for another fight before the end of the year. But everybody was tied up. And, you know, the 135 division is kind of stacked, and they didn't have any more fights. And, you know, 145 has been shut down ever since Amanda Nunes retired and gave her the title. So now she officially is retiring from the UFC. They'll say she's retiring from UFC doesn't mean she's retiring from fighting. As you know, there's the PFL, and it's pretty much growing popularity. You know, it's even, you remember PFL even bought out Bellator a while back, and just saw just a couple weeks ago we had Chris Cyborg face Alyssa Pacheco for the women's 145 title at PFL. So will she go over the PFL? Now she's already beaten Pacheco years ago. And I don't know if she wants to ever fight Cyborg. Now, as you said again, she is 40 years old. And you've seen a lot of fighters retiring. You know, saw recently Carla, the Cookie Monster Esparza, she's retired. You know, Michelle, the Karate Hottie Watterson, she retired. Some are still waiting on if Holly Holmes going to officially retire. So, you know, what she's going to do. She can keep fighting or just move on and focus her life back in the Netherlands. As I said again, she is a police officer there. So that's her career. Or maybe start something else. Maybe a coach or a trainer for other fighters. Or like I said, there's still that opportunity to fight at PFL as a 145 fighter. As you know, she was the first champion in 145 in the UFC. But I doubt she wants to face up Cyborg. Now that she's getting a little older, her Cyborg is just a year apart between the both of them. So the question is the future off in the sunset to raise her child with her girlfriend, or stick in the fight game? Whatever she wants to do, it's up to her. But like I said, I'm not a fan of hers. She did duck the fade from Cyborg, and I wish her best of luck and good riddance. And we should be all over George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Combat Sports Talk. Subscribe, don't subscribe. I'm out. Good luck and goodbye.